Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to another session of Horizons with Autumn HQ. Thank you so much for joining. We are happy to have two guests this time from BigCommerce, and so I am definitely excited to bring them on. But before we do that, I want to make sure, as a reminder, as to why we are doing this program. And for those who are new, to introduce why we're doing this program. We, as Autumn HQ, we want to make sure that we are providing all of our Automites with access and exposure to people who are in the tech space. So, as your program director, that is my job and my duty. And we bring on guests to explain their extension to their career or even explain what kind of jobs they do now so that you can match a name with a face with that career. Um, as you know, the Black and Hispanic community is lagging in terms of the amount of representation we have in the tech space, especially when it comes to those leaders that we want to be able to be represented by in the tech space. And so the only way to do that, well, there's multiple ways of doing it, but the way we're attacking it is one of them is being this particular event today by providing more access and exposure to those who are in the tech space, making connections, making it a lot easier for you to network with people that are new to you, but maybe still have some shared experiences, or even some other qualities that you may be able to relate to. Um, as far as the way we go about presenting that, like I said, with Horizons by Autumn HQ, with Day in the Life, those are the major two series that we have that are recurring throughout the year and that are able for you to view later on our YouTube channel if you missed them live. But if you tap into them, no matter if you're live or if you're tapping into it on a later date, you can always reach out to the ones who we present as our guests to reach out to them directly, have those conversations, comment on things they talked about during the conversation, and start building your network. So, without further ado, I would like to bring on Brittany. She is representing, both of our guests are representing BigCommerce today, but Brittany is our first guest, and I would like to introduce her and let Brittany share a little bit about herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me, team. Truly an honor, a pleasure to be here talking about my own journey through tech. I started just right out of college, so I've been in the industry for about 3 years now. But yeah, just happy to talk about my journey, which has been semi non traditional. And yeah, talk about my current role at BigCommerce.
No doubt. Thanks for joining us, Brittany. We always like to make sure we're tapping into people's experience, especially if they're like, if they're, like you said, they're different. They're not the common 4-year computer science degree into tech
Exactly.
roles. We those are great. Those people exist. And I'm not taking anything away from their experience. At the same time, a lot of people that we're serving, they didn't do that. So they're like, okay, well, how can I get in now? Or what are the avenues that are my way in? So we definitely like to hear about yours.
Yeah, definitely understand that too. We'll talk a little bit about my background through school and things I'm interested in and passion wise. But right now, I am a sales rep at BigCommerce. So I'm currently in a non tech role at a tech company. So I'm happy to kind of shed light in that aspect of being in the industry, of course. Of course, a member of BCinColor, and myself, I'm a beauty entrepreneur. I have a passion for beauty businesses, anything, any beauty trend I'm truly interested in. And I've been like this since I was a teenager for the most part. But yeah, definitely fueled by that aspect of me. But yeah, being in my current role at BigCommerce has really been beneficial to my journey as a sales rep. Essentially, this wasn't my first role in a technical company. So I'm happy to talk a little bit about what I do and how I do it and how I mix my passions as well. So traditionally, when I first got out of my school, I went to North Carolina A&T State University. I had my first role at Oracle, and of course, we're going to talk a little bit about that. But this is where I am with my journey.
Definitely. Thanks. And I was going to make
Yeah.
a comment about that. NCAT, coming from a rattler.
Yes, HBCU pride over here.
Definitely.
Yeah, but of course, I'm mentioning my background, but mainly I'm here today to talk about imposter syndrome. Um, Prior, I mentioned that I am a non technical role. And traditionally, what tech looked like in the past is very white collared, you know, white white roles, white peers, kind of a bro system, but that's slowly changing. And as you can see from myself and Phil, you'll meet a little bit after, is that things are changing. There are roles that are aligned to you as a person, and also what you want for yourself, right? So, imposter syndrome is really easy to fall into, but letting yourself know that you're aligned to what you're there for is truly important, especially in tech and being successful in tech, right? You have to be confident, you have to show up, and you have to know that you are meant to be here just as much as someone else is. So, of course, that feels into being a Black woman, right? Where you talked about the gap, the lack that is currently in today's society, but existing in that is definitely beneficial in just showing up as yourself. And I've learned that through my past roles. And it's definitely been showing up in today how I show up as a Black woman in my roles, how I show up in meetings, how I show up in person events, right? How I show up now is definitely something that I want to share and kind of bring to the audience today.
No, and we appreciate that, especially like you said, imposter syndrome is so big. It's something we can easily just you forget that it does exist. You're just thinking
Yeah.
like, no, I really don't, qualify. And it's like if you make half the requirements on the application or the the job description, apply. You don't know, they could be fishing for people, and they just need somebody to who can read and write and know how to use a computer. You won't even know until you apply. I always had to
Yeah.
even tell myself when I was going through my transition. It's just also just get to the point where you can say no. Until then, just
Mhm.
keep going for it.
Yeah, and saying yes to yourself before someone else can say no to you, for sure. Of course. So now, here's when I talk about how I got here, right? So I went to school at North Carolina A&T, as I mentioned before. It's HBCU in Greensboro, North Carolina, Aggie Pride. But there, I was studying business for 4 years. I truly do have a love for business currently to this day, so much so. Um, I studied entrepreneurship and currently also am a beauty entrepreneur, as I mentioned before. But yeah, I started at a career fair. I think it was one of my last career fairs my senior year. And I remember speaking to the recruiter, and I was like, I'm not going to get it. I was really doubtful. And of course, you're young and inexperienced and not sure what that next step is. Um, and in that career fair, I just showed up just to be there, honestly. But that was the start of my tech career. And honestly, I think if you're in college and you know the culture of a career fair, sometimes it is very overwhelming. Especially, it's basically LinkedIn in person. And um, I was there to get my feet wet, to be experienced, and that's where I got my first role. And yes, I mentioned before, I started in the industry at Oracle. I was there for about a year and 3 months, I believe. And there I was also in the Black ERG Able. And that's a little bit what kind of molded me to be still excited about the tech industry, still excited about my passions, right, for business and how they align to my role today. It's really interesting. And yeah, and how I kind of started is being just naturally curious about, okay, what's ahead? what do I like and what do I want to grow in? And tech is definitely an industry that is ever so growing, as we all know.
Definitely. I think I had a similar experience with my interviews with Oracle.
Yeah.
So for some of y'all, I don't know if y'all went to either HBCU or I guess PWI or
Or
to your
not
school. It
school
doesn't
at
matter your
all. Yeah.
experience. Sometimes your instructors make the career fair a requirement. So although you're going, it's sometimes an autopilot, and you're like, let me just go ahead and get this checklist off my
Yeah.
box because I know Professor X, whatever is going to be asking for it. So at the same time, it's like you want to go in and be your full self. It's just like you're right. It is kind of overwhelming. You walk down those stairs, this is the gym or set like facility or whatever. You see all those recruiters and everybody's dressed to the nines in their suits and whatnot, and they're
Yeah.
talking. And you're like, I just kind of got to file in. But with everything being virtual now, it's actually I would say it's that much different because you're still having to present yourself. But I think being in a space where you're kind of by yourself and you can like really focus on talking to somebody individually versus hearing somebody next to you talk to another recruiter and like, dang, they sound really good. Like
Yeah.
all that can be
Yeah.
overwhelming, but that taps into the imposter syndrome. So it's like I think you have a better to my opinion, a better environment to really excel and really showcase yourself when you're looking at different roles.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely goes back to imposter syndrome. And it's all like in yourself, essentially. Like if I was a little bit more confident, I'm curious to see how would end up back then. But yeah, it all goes back to that, right?
Definitely. I've got some Oracle people in the chat there. See you, Tyler.
Yes. Hey, Tyler.
Oops.
Yeah.
Got a little excited. Let's go back. I'm sorry, Phil. We're not
We're
ready.
meeting him in a second.
We'll meet him in a second. I think my finger and the mouse
No
are a little bit
worries.
excited ahead of me. So one more slide. Here we go.
Yeah, so currently in tech, we do have a new hybrid model at BigCommerce here. But essentially, I joined in 2020 where we were 100% remote, right? I have not met my coworkers for the last year, and I think 4 months is when I first met my coworkers in person. Of course, that's a downside, but it's a benefit to the work-life balance, right? And that's what I really like about my current role. I have the ability to kind of engage as much as I want to when it comes to just in person interactions, but essentially get my work done. Essentially, have that balance, essentially, work on my passions, right? Essentially, be a decent person and take care of myself while also working in my tech role, right? Sometimes we think of tech as something that's really complicated, something that you need to put hours into and kind of overcompensate. But definitely having that work life balance has been something that really makes me love the role that I'm in. And again, I do work in sales, so a non technical role. And I do also make an impact, right? So I talk a little bit more about what I do day to day. So in my sales role, I engage with businesses, so entrepreneurs of right now, I work with mid market clients. So businesses that are whether they're 2 million all the way to 10 million in revenue, and we help them sell their products or sometimes B2B, so business to business or sometimes directly to customers. But all of this is going on online. So it's definitely a need for these conversations to be had, and that's where I come in. That's where my entrepreneurship experience comes in. And sometimes I do talk to beauty businesses, and this is where we can also connect, right?
Yes.
Of course, relating always back to the technology and why we're here, but sometimes having that layer to myself makes me more personable and more relatable in my actual role. And yeah, and of course, connecting with Black professionals on a day-to-day basis, right? I have been a part of ERGs through every company that I've been in to connect me to Black people, just to have a sense of belonging and connection as well. And that's definitely been helping me develop as a professional, being a little bit more confident, having less of that imposter syndrome, right? Looking to my left and right and seeing someone who looks like me is definitely beneficial to how I operate on a day-to-day basis. So essentially just owning my own experience and connecting it to my tech role, owning my experience and connecting it to Black professionals that I work with. And yeah, that's definitely been impactful in my day-to-day basis.
Can you mind telling us a little bit about your beauty line, your brand?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I, way back when I was in college, I started making my products. I currently make like body care products.
Okay.
But at some point in my life, I was making every product in my routine, like my shampoo, my conditioner, my lip balm. Like I was always creative in that sense, and I work with my hands in that sense. And fast forward to now, I launched a beauty brand online actually, so it helps me be familiar with e-commerce.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I sell body care products online. It's been about a year and 3 months, I believe.
Wow. Wow.
I'm Yeah,
Congratulations.
it's been a year for
No,
me.
that first year stage, the first hump is like just getting over all the things you
Yeah,
have to establish. But that's great. That's really great.
yeah. Thanks for
Shameless
asking.
plug. You can definitely put your line in the chat for people
Oh, I
to
would
look
love
it up.
to. I'll put it in momentarily.
Okay, definitely. I'm looking for it because I
Yeah.
like anything that's locally sourced. I do my
Yeah.
best, to shop locally. And you added that you could say that your beauty line at this point, would that be like a lucrative hobby of yours, or is that just as equal as your space in BigCommerce?
Some days it's just as equal. Some days I put that hat down a little bit longer than
Uh-huh.
I should, but I definitely simultaneously exist in both being an entrepreneur and being a tech in my tech role for sure. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure your customers, respect that, and it probably helps you in your sales because they're like, you know what, you get it. You're not just another salesperson, and I'm not saying all salespeople are just another salesperson, but having something that stands out and they can resonate with, like on a real level, I'm pretty sure that really helps
Yeah.
you in your work, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I would say that helped me get hired here because I have that piece that helps me resonate with someone. And a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people, everybody doesn't have your own experience. And whatever you bring to the table is completely unique. And definitely that's what I like about being at the company as well is I truly feel unique and useful and bring that to my everyday role.
No, that's definitely important. And if people who are out there who's interested in BigCommerce, we're not saying you have to go and start your own beauty line or start your
Yeah.
separate company, but it's good to
Yeah.
focus on what makes you special or what really drives you outside of your actual desk job that may
Yeah.
actually contribute to your desk job, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. Yeah, it definitely makes sense of like I just call it alignment, right? Like who are
Alignment,
you
thank
are
you.
at the
That's
core
important.
and how do you want to exist in like your career? They should always talk to each other. They should always complement each other.
Hmm.
You're not like two different people. You're literally one person doing a lot of different things. And once you feel fulfilled and like truly comfortable where you are as a person, as an individual, that it flourishes in your role for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so, and what is your advice for finding that tech job of your dreams?
Yeah. So again, find a role that aligns with your non-technical skills, right? I'm talking about beauty, something that is completely non-technical, but definitely have to interact with technology on a day-to-day basis, right? So this helps me be familiar with the tools that my customers are using, what's going on in the e-commerce industry. I'm always interested in just as much as I'm interested in the beauty world, right? So definitely finding a role that aligns with, yeah, intersectionality of how you want to show up in your career, show up long term in your current role, definitely find something that talks to each other. Find a company that excites you, right? Again,
Exactly.
e-commerce is definitely exciting to me. That's one thing that I just stood out when I was applying to different roles and just vetting, excuse me, what I see myself doing long term. E-commerce is something that genuinely excites me and something that I understand. Sometimes, not to mention, but businesses exist for other businesses sometimes, but having a company that exists for customers to help other businesses is extremely rare. So find an industry that excites you as much as I feel about BigCommerce, and for sure, peer to peer mentorship is key. I would not be here talking to you all if it wasn't for some of my peers bringing me here. So definitely something that should be top of mind when you're looking for roles and always searching for roles, whether internally or externally. Just keep your peers close.
Definitely. And even Maya has mentioned her experience. Um, sorry, yeah, as this is good as I'm wanting to career pivot into cybersecurity. I'm utilizing insurance and risk management as a crossover skill. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely it can apply in different industries. It can apply based on what your interest is, which is important. What you said, join a company that if you're not excited about the product, then why are you working there?
Yeah.
So
Why are you working there? Why are you
right,
working
because
on
you
it?
can't
Yeah.
be excited about it and share your excitement, and that can't translate to the customer or even even your own team and help motivate yourselves internally. Then you're really kind of shooting yourself in the foot. But I definitely agree. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then we have one more comment.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you,
Thanks,
Tom. So
Tom.
definitely shout out from leadership up there. This is awesome. And so thank you for so much for sharing your experience with us, Brittany. We're definitely going to bring you back. If anybody had any questions for Brittany, feel free to throw them in the chat. If anything she discussed, sparked your interest, we can definitely bring that up again. But we're going to go pan over to Phil and actually learn about his experience. Let's hide these comments here and move over to Phil and have a similar discussion. Then we'll bring both Brittany and Phil back for question and answer in the event that you had something for Brittany during Phil's conversation. So thanks, Brittany. I'm going to give you a break there, smiling break.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Definitely. Oh, one more comment from Tom. Definitely, yeah, definitely check out the opportunities for BigCommerce. We have them. We'll share how you can locate those on our job board. So thank you, Tom, for that shameless plug as well. Getting a lot of comments when I'm trying to move over to Philly, guys. Okay, we'll come back to those. All right, how you doing, Phil?
I'm doing
And
great. How are you?
no, this is good. Got a lot of comments and a lot of thank yous to Brittany. So I'll definitely bring those back when Brittany comes back, everyone. Hold your applause. So no, I want to bring on Phil, and Phil is also with BigCommerce. And I think it's great when we do horizons like this, when we can have two different people talk about their experience. Not to say that, talking to one person is boring, but it's also good as like a parallel because both of you have the similar in terms of, trajectories in your companies in your respective positions, but it's also okay, let's pan back, let's see where things started off. And that's where you're giving our audience more a variety of connections or points that they can resonate with. So I definitely want to hear about your experience as well. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super thankful to be here. And yeah, just wanted to talk a little bit about things that I've learned, things that I've done, and yeah, share my experiences.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and jump in. So similar questions in the beginning, but your current career and the hats that you wear as of right now, how is that working for you? How are you balancing this list of positions?
Yeah, so currently I'm a data specialist. I started out as an account development rep, a BCinColor member, Fun Ops Committee leader. I previously was a sustainability ambassador, a hospitality manager, and forever a gamer.
Forever a gamer. So what's your favorite game right now? What's hot? What's hot?
Apex Legends. Yeah, it's a It's the
I've
first
heard of it.
person. Yeah.
I've heard of it, but I could not tell you anything past the name. So
It's a lot of fun.
no, they actually just had a huge conference here in Dallas for gamers out in, I think, Jerry World at the AT&T Stadium. So if you heard of that, but that's about as much as I can go in the game field. But
Totally okay.
I want to talk about some of your other positions. Both of you are, in BCinColor, and I think that's really awesome. Is what Brittany was sharing as far, the ERGs, employee resource groups, is what they're called. But BCinColor is one for BigCommerce. Able was one that both Tyler and Brittany and I were part of Able for Oracle. But I wanted to know, in terms of outside of your desk job, some of these other positions, how did you go about choosing, or what you wanted to be involved in past just being, your data analyst and even account development representative? How did you really jump into the extracurricular type of activities at work?
I think just being involved with people in the community, there's a lot of things that are going on that, really takes group effort to kind of raise awareness. And so anything that can connect me to other people that are, doing things for other people, I want to be a part of that, because I don't know, it's just, I feel like when you're supporting other people, their lives can be a little bit better during hard times.
Definitely. I agree. And sometimes it's just like, I have my desk job and I know the company's going to be here to make money, but there's some other things that are pressing that I'm more passionate to me personally, that I think is really cool when a company taps in to their employees and recognizes that and provides outlets for you to then serve that. So that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Now I want to click over, my mouse is not working. So, why did you decide to join us today? What are some of the major reasons that really drew you to this conversation?
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably going to say this more than once, but for me, it's really about the people. I feel like when you're supporting other people, or, listening to other people's ideas, sharing your ideas with other people, I feel like that's just a great thing that can allow us to kind of move forward during, I don't know, just during hard times. And so I always like to try to maintain strong connections with people, so that way in any situation I'm in, any role I'm in, that we can get things done together, and not just, hey, taking everything in on your own and then having a stressful time. So and then also challenges, just kind of, I feel like challenges come and go. Sometimes they are very unexpected. Sometimes, you can kind of see a challenge coming right at you. And, I want people to know that, challenges come and go. Hey, it shows up, you get through it, it's over with. Maybe you team up with somebody to take that challenge on. Maybe you take on the challenge yourself. But at the end of the day, it's coming and going. So, anytime that any of y'all out there feel like there's something challenging in your life, just maybe try to think, well, okay, here it is, challenge. All right, see ya. And then you can keep moving on, keep doing your thing. So, and then be proud of yourself. Yeah, I mean, something I think that I personally struggle with is, being proud of myself for, hey, I've made it this far, or hey, I've done this thing. And, not really stopping to say, hey, dude, like, you did it, man. Good job. Like, so for anybody out there that maybe is kind of not giving themselves enough credit, or being proud of themselves, I do highly recommend that, because you deserve it. And then, inspiring people of color. I mean, it's super cool to step into a room, or, be on a team, and you see, see other people of color around you. It's like, cool. Like, I'm not alone. I'm not isolated. Like, we can do this together. We can do anything that anybody else can do. So having that opportunity, I mean, it's really cool.
No, that's awesome. I really like your point about the challenges, because it's kind of like you're gaming. You got checkpoints, and in order to get to the checkpoint, you got to face some kind of challenge, right? So, and then at that checkpoint, you can do a little dance, celebrate, pat yourself on the back,
Every time.
all of that. But it's always good to recognize that you had that challenge, you did it, or maybe that you're in it still, and that the fact that you're still in it, you're not out. It's always a good way to celebrate yourself. I like to look at them as like the small wins. Sometimes when I'm feeling like down, it's like, I just need to win today. Like, what can I do to I can check off somewhere on somebody's list, or make it's some impact on somebody's life, or do something for myself even. What can I do to give myself a small win? Because that is literally, you have to encourage yourself, and keep going, even when, you don't feel like other people are doing it for you. So,
Yeah,
'cause they're doing the same thing with themselves. So, you always
for
have to have
sure.
your many wins. Um, we have a cool comment here. It says, I think being an inspiration to other people of color is important. No one wants to feel like an outsider. It's definitely right, Eli. Especially if you're the first person, in that group, that's Black, or that's Hispanic, or that's, Indigenous, or even if you're part of LGBTQIA, or any other community that's not as, it's not well, we are the global majority, but that's not the majority in the space that you're working in. It's always good to say, you know what, I'm here, and because I'm here, we're going to keep on pulling people in here, to make it, like a community inside of this, make them feel comfortable. But it might, take that one person being uncomfortable for the first time to do that. So that's really inspiring.
Yeah.
So let's take it back to some of the things before we got to BigCommerce. Can you tell us about your
Absolutely.
journey to this point?
Absolutely. So I love this slide because the first thing you see there is degree. And for me, I don't have a degree. And I did go to college, community college here in Austin for a little while. And I don't know. It didn't feel like a good fit for me. And so I dropped out, and I just started going to work, and had a number of different jobs over the years, and learned a bunch of different things from a lot of people. And so when I was going to college for a little bit, RTF and sociology, I love film, I love movies. There's a lot of cool creative, aspects to film. And then sociology, I just think that there's a lot of interesting ideas that surround that. So I definitely like that. And then how did I get my start? Connections with people. So when I say connections with people, it just kind of goes back to people first mentality. I think that anytime you are in a position where you're going to be working with other people, I think it's super important to just really kind of take the time to hear what they're saying, and can kind of learn a little bit about that person, and why you're there. And so just, I never imagined that I would be here, first of all. And I think that over the years, just learning from other people and learning how to try to be a decent person, and, really fostering good connections with other people can open up so many doors throughout your life. And it may not even be a door to something that you were interested in. I mean, it could be anything. And so, yeah, connections with people is just super important to me. And I want to be able to try to be that person as other people throughout my life foster good connections, and just open up all the doors, and just happened to open the door that led me here. So I'm super, super happy and super thankful for all those people throughout life.
No,
Go ahead.
I have one comment on that point. While you're talking about the connections piece, I do have a question from Kira. And basically, do you know anybody outside of yourself that has gotten a role in tech that did not have a degree?
Not that I know of. I mean, I've talked to a few people, and it seems like it's just kind of like an anomaly, right? Or something very rare. And when people tell me those things, I just think, how can I not be thankful? I mean, I'm so thankful that I'm here. I'm thankful for, again, the people who have kind of shepherded me and guided me, and just, hey, these people are setting good examples. And then there are also people who don't set good examples, and you can still learn from those people too. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody else that could have a tech job, tech role without a degree. And I mean, it's possible.
I didn't mean to interrupt. And I'm going to come back to the second part of the question, but feel free to continue. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, my first full-time tech role was ADR, account development rep. And I didn't know and didn't plan for it when I got in, I just immediately fell in love with what was being asked of me. I loved the collaboration, and I mean, it felt like the sky was the limit for what I could learn. And so I thought it was a great entry into the tech world. And I mean, it just feels like there's so many doors that can sprout from that role to many others. So
No, I agree. And you know what? The second half of the question was, well, first, the question was directed if you knew a woman that has gotten a tech role without having a degree, but you already answered that question. Then the second part was, how important do you feel that culture fit is being accepted in a technical role?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's identity, it's soul, it's I mean, I think there are just some things that can't be explained. But for me, yeah, soul, identity, I mean, culture, it's just to think that it could totally inspire somebody else, you know, at any age. I mean, young people right now for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But to show that there is opportunity, and that, you know, you have a chance, and you don't have to, you know, you don't have to hide yourself. You don't have to be afraid. You can just be yourself and really grow maybe into the best kind of person you could possibly be.
No, I agree. And I know I can't sit here and tell you a name, but I have heard someone's story that was a woman that has gotten a role in a tech space that without a degree. But I'm not going to, you know, make up a name and do that. That's not what I'm going to give y'all. But I know they do exist. Like you said, it does seem like an anomaly. Just kidding. And it may seem out of the norm because the way we have put so much focus on higher ed, it unlearning the idea that you need to have a degree is something that has been forthcoming, and it's gradually picking up speed. I know I can share on IBM's perspective from their side. They committed about 30% of their roles to not require college degrees or extensive experience, because there are some roles out there that the company's going to teach you, you're going to learn, and as long as you have experience doing something else, something related that's relevant, you're a good fit. So companies are picking up speeds. They are starting to adopt that nature. And even if it's not a degree, like you said, you had jobs in different places. So it's not like you weren't doing anything. You were picking up skills in other places. It just wasn't sitting out in the classroom. So yeah. I think people applying with those skill sets still are very valuable people in the tech space. Whether or not if it's, you know, written down on paper, you know, placing somebody's forehead or not, right? So I think that's still something to seek out, even if you don't have a degree. And I see in the comments, thanks for all of the conversation. I was trying to keep up, but leaning into certifications is another certificates, certifications, even badges or projects or anything, volunteer opportunities. All of those speak towards your work ethic, speak towards the actual skill set you're trying to display for that entity that you're sharing it with. And it also shows that you're versatile and you're willing to learn. So to your experience and the way you commented on having multiple roles and before, you know, joining BigCommerce literally speaks to that aspect.
Absolutely,
you know,
yeah.
We have a lot of commentaries. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna do my best to work them in, but we want to keep the conversation going. My most important question out of all this is, what is that on that picture? What is that dessert?
Yeah, so well, that's a delicious dessert. I think it's going to be a little bit of shaved ice, a little bit of mango. I can't remember what else was on there. It might have been like a mango syrup. I ate the whole thing. Yeah, it was in one sitting. It's actually a lot larger than it appears, but I love sweets and I love fruit, and it was just a perfect pairing on that day.
That is right up my alley. And I was like, I got to ask this question because I know somebody out there is thinking the same thing.
It's delicious.
Do you remember where you were?
Snow Village, I think is the name. It's
Snow Village?
Yeah, North Lamar and Airport. It's near 99 Ranch Market, and there's a bakery in there that's it's in that shopping center. It's super good.
Definitely. All right, shameless plug. If anybody needs a sweet tooth escape right now, Snow Village. But what else do you like about your current role?
Yeah, so I kind of want to start off with the data part. So when I started as a ADR, the account development rep, uh, I was learning about Salesforce. I was just being exposed to like a whole new world of tech that I had no previous experience in. And so as I was learning about what an ADR does, I started to ask questions about what the data specialist does. And, I just couldn't have been more happy that I found myself on a team where people were willing to be patient with me and answer my questions and kind of show me, what are we looking at? What is all of this? And the more I kind of got exposed and the more like on hands experience that I got to do, the cool looking things myself, the curious things,
Uh-huh.
I just fell in love. And I thought, well, I don't know this stuff, but I'm interested, I'm curious. And so data is, I don't know, it's something interesting, and I'm super thankful that BigCommerce has allowed me to explore that curiosity and just be patient with me. And I put representing people of color. Again, it's kind of one of those things where, I mean, who knows? Like maybe somebody out there watching is, maybe they're super young and they're thinking, oh man, that seems kind of cool, and they're looking at me like, hey, we got a brown dude over here doing this role, like that's cool, right? So, it may seem kind of small to some people, but, for me, just feeling like, hey, I'm here, I did it. And, this is what I look like. If you feel like you look the same, you can be here too, and many, many other places. So, and then I put being myself, of course. I mean, I'm so thankful that since day one, it feels like I have been myself, and in all of my quirkiness and inquisitive mind and curious mind. I've never felt like I haven't been able to be myself since I've been here. And BigCommerce, the people I work with, it's just it works. It's just an awesome fit, and I couldn't be more happy. And then company support, yeah, just so many things that are going on in the world, just so many issues and challenges that we're all facing at different levels. I mean, it's super overwhelming. And BigCommerce has just so many ways for you to get that support. And I don't mean just the resources that they share, like, but I mean like the people around. I feel so comfortable that if there's an issue that I'm having, I can talk to somebody on my team, I can talk to my manager. So there's just a huge amount of support with the people around, and just the resources that BigCommerce makes available daily. They don't hide anything. It's like, hey, if there's a specific something you got going on, we got something. We can point you in the right direction. Here it is, and there's no pressure. It's just very open and welcoming. And so, yeah, I'm super happy about company support.
Most definitely. And I'm glad both you and Brittany feel the same way. So it must be a really strong push inside of BigCommerce. That's really awesome. And like you said, being yourself, I think that's my favorite part. Being yourself, you don't have to feel like, well, I need to come, looking a certain way, or being professional, but you don't have to change too much about yourself to get a job done, at the end of the day. And I think that's also something that's becoming more and more. It's already started a long time ago, but it's becoming more and more of a conversation and acceptable in a lot of spaces that really made you a certain type of person to fit their cookie cutter view of what a professional looks like to do a job. But when you realize you let people kind of like, let loose a little bit, you might actually get more, you get more opinions, you get more ideas, things are able to like to flow easier versus like fitting this rigid like idea of what somebody should be doing and looking like in order to complete that job. So I really like that point that you made.
Yeah.
And then last question here, what should people know that are interested in your role in your career path?
Yeah. Be open, kind of be open-minded, be open to learning. I think just being open to learning can not only apply to this role, this path, but I think to just kind of life in general, there's a lot of information out there, and if you are curious and you're open to learning, I mean, it can carry you so far through life and open up new opportunities. Asking questions, I mean, if you're curious about something, ask a question. If you want to learn how to do something, ask a question. I think it's an awesome thing to ask questions. So definitely recommend, don't be afraid to ask questions, y'all. And then finding a place that aligns with your core. I really didn't know too much about BigCommerce before I arrived. It was just somebody who I knew at the time spoke really well about it. And I thought, you know what? My close friend who was working here at the time was themselves. And they always said really good things. And they said, hey, you know what? I think you'd love it here. I think you're going to be able to do this really well and being yourself. And so I got here, and since day one, it's just been the values that are important to me on the inside and values of other people around me. I feel like it's not just me, but if, in addition to how I feel, that the people around me, also their values in conjunction with BigCommerce, it all came together, and it's just been an awesome flow since then. And then the unknown path isn't as scary as you might believe. So I guess I put that one out there because sometimes if you're faced with a situation or an experience you've never done before, it might be a little bit scary. And I sometimes feel that way still to this day, but I've seen how some people can approach that situation and can just kind of, meet it head on, even though they don't know what it's going to be like. And at the end of the day, I think you can really be proud of yourself for approaching that unknown situation. And, whether it was, if you want to say it was successful or you did really well, whatever it was, I think you should really be proud of yourself and say, hey, you decided to meet this unknown situation head on, and, don't be hard on yourself. So, and then the last one, nurturing relationships along the journey. I mean, this one's super important to me because, again, it just goes back to people. And I've just seen a lot of different things that people have done over the years, some really good things, some not so good things, and just trying to learn from them and, just trying to maintain good relationships and listening to people. And I feel like if you can continue to do that, then you'll have a good career. You're going to have an incredible support system, not just the company you're working for, but the people around you. And I'm just a lover of people, and I feel like wherever I'm at, I want to be able to kind of share that and hope that can help them, and then they can help somebody else. So maintain good relationships, and it can be really good for not just you, but for everybody.
No, I agree. And I got some comments in the chat here. I was sharing, tapping into some of the things you're talking about. The one I just had on the screen was about connections, and the ones that you make, the meaningful connections that you make with people. You can obviously be sharing information, sharing experiences, leaning on each other for information. And so, like, to your point, that really determines how your journey would plan out. If you're doing it alone, if you're doing it with a village of people. And then what Mia's saying here, seeing representation of different cultures and backgrounds gives us the courage to know that you belong in tech, and it's okay to find your fit in this world. And so my favorite point on your list here was the unknown path is not as scary. I think the quote is, and Tyler's probably going to get it for me, you're not growing unless you're uncomfortable, or you have to get out of your comfort zone a lot of times in order to see yourself grow. And if you stay comfortable, now if you're comfortable, you're fine making the same, dollar amount every year, is doing the same thing, same roles every year, talking to the same people, which they may move it out of your life because they're growing too. Then that's up to you. If you're very complacent, and that's up to you. That's not the goal, because I don't think you'll be able to, to really aspire to what your dreams are. But really moving out of your comfort zone is the only way to make that shift. And so obviously, I think right now in this space where and we had COVID going on, and people had a lot of things to weigh in terms of what their career is like, what they're doing personally, what their financial goals are, what their passions, are, what their hobbies, what family. All these things can put a weight and maybe sometimes damper what you actually do for yourself. But I think at the end of the day, you got to choose you. And if that makes you, say, you know what, I'm quitting this job and I'm going to go start a beauty brand or start a snow company or shaved ice company, because that's what you really like to do. I think any time in life is the best time to do it. Let's say now, but I think
Yeah.
at least try it is the best time to do it. So I agree. And then Kira, she was agreeing with Mia. Diversity of personality type is something that doesn't get discussed much. Many jobs have a type, especially in tech. Um, and her second point was, so seeing different types of personalities is vital. I definitely agree. And I'm actually going to
Mhm.
start that, Kira, because we talk about, different backgrounds, ethnicities, what you see, physically as a person, even, how they identify. But they can do all that and still be two different type of people when you're talking to somebody who identifies the exact same, categories that we traditionally identify. And so that to me, and you can maybe chime in on this point, it to me it's like a not like a mind game, but it's like, okay, how do you go about communicating with Phil, who maybe have the same identities as, all the, that we identify traditionally as, another person, but they talk differently. So now you got to like figure out how to work with that person, how to share information, how
Mhm.
to, just go about you're showing your human characteristic capabilities towards each other, and human interaction is important. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, there are different personalities out there, and yeah, just kind of figuring out how they communicate, and how can you how do you how can you cooperate to if you're given a task, how do you get that done? And I do love seeing just the different personalities out there. So
yes. And I'm actually going to go ahead and bring back on Brittany, because I think your conversation points, along with Brittany's conversation points, there's a lot of comments I do want to go back and spend time chiming in on. But before we do that, everybody, please pull out your phones. If you're on your phone already, go to LinkedIn, go to your app, and follow and connect with Brittany and Phil, because a lot of your points are definitely are good conversation starters with them individually and amongst yourselves. If you see somebody else's name on here in the chat section, I see a lot of Automites here in the chat. I see some people from BigCommerce, so thanks so much for joining. And then some of the names that I don't recognize. If you're new to the community, welcome. So definitely check us out. Check Phil and Brittany out definitely on the social medias, as they say. But follow them on LinkedIn, because they're expecting to hear from you. And Automites, as I always share, this is how you're building your network. You have the shared experience that we're talking about here, which we'll get back to in some of the comments here in a minute, that you can start building your conversations on. And that way it won't be a cold handoff, sales terminology, for those who are wanting to meet you and start a conversation. So definitely, I'm going to leave this on the screen for a little bit longer. Um, Notate, I guess, if you look up Brittany Bygrave and you see BigCommerce, you can definitely see Philip. That's how I found Philip in the LinkedIn. So they should be connected to each other. But what I'm going to do now is go back to some of the comments of some of the things that you both of you were sharing, and really, take some of these points a little further. So about 2 more seconds to look at those LinkedIn addresses. But now I want to bring us back. So, zoom in. No, I wanted to go back to some of the points I wasn't able to share based on the flow of the conversation. So, going back to Brittany, you had a lot of applause after you left the screen. It was like an ovation, basically. But thanks for sharing your insights and your points and your motivational, because you have your business on your own as entrepreneur, and you're able to tie that into what you do at BigCommerce. And I think a lot of that speaks for itself in terms of the tenacity and the amount of energy just you put into investing into yourself to be successful on both ends.
Yeah.
So, did you want to share any more points about how you at least have gotten into the beauty? Sorry, healthcare, I guess, lifestyle business. Let me know what industry it's called. I'm pretty sure I'm wrong.
You got it.
Or any other motivational advice you have for those who are wanting to maybe start something on the side in addition to their day job, or maybe trying to toggle in between the two?
Yeah, I kind of naturally did it on my front. It wasn't necessarily like a push or pull because of what I mentioned before of the work-life balance of being remote. So time management there has been really um, at ease for me, but mentally, of course, I do like to just communicate to my manager and my peers of what I'm doing. Let's say this week is, I don't know what I'm doing this week, but let's say this week I'm pretty busy on another project. Just communicating that within your team internally has been something that I definitely picked up within the last couple of months. And yeah, so just be intentional, as I kept mentioning before. Make sure whatever you're doing as a passion project definitely aligns with who you are and see how it speaks to your actual tech career. And also have fun. That's what I got from Phil's. Like, just have fun and be yourself.
Self,
Like,
definitely.
I was listening to the conversation before, of course, but like, there's no one way to be you. There's no one way to exist in a tech role. And of course, I mentioned before, it's ever changing. So just find what works for you.
Definitely. And then on the other side of the comments, we were looking at the conversation about that degree and that magical word that can determine a lot of things for some and may not mean anything to others. So I want to just chime back in. I know we had the conversation of asking, are there women out there in the tech space that don't have degrees that have been successful in moving into that space? And a lot of the comments, I appreciate everybody's input because we did touch on basically the general response, but I like to see others other perspectives on how to approach that situation. And we were talking about, oh, just kidding. We were talking about getting a lot of companies that are now adopting that idea, that approach to recruiting, and not requiring the degrees. There's also been a boom of technical certifications that you can lean into. Um, Men and women alike. And then even from Tom here, he says, I'm hearing from more and more people in engineering, at least in BigCommerce, that for many roles in tech, a degree is not necessary. I say, don't let a lack of a degree prevent you from applying. And that taps into even imposter syndrome, back to what Brittany was sharing. I mean, we have all these requirements, and I always say, if you see out of the 10 things they're asking for you to have experience in, if you got 5 to 7, apply anyway. Even if it's like 3, apply, because you don't know what the company's looking for. You don't know how dire that position, how dire of a need that needs to be filled, and you want to shut yourself out before you find out, right? So apply, see what happens, and if they say no, worst case scenario, just apply for another one, which is not a bad scenario at all, to be honest. Let's see. Also, sorry, someone else asked me about the mango nada. As far as connections, as we shared earlier as well, that can honestly be your ticket as well. It's not always, who you know, but it's who knows you and who's going to vouch for you. We can have a whole conversation about, the difference between an advocate and a mentor, but y'all can look up those words, look up a nice TED talk. They'll explain it thoroughly. But you want to make sure you have people that are in your corner. And the only way to do that is to start making genuine connections. So, Phil, thanks for talking about that in your piece.
Thank you.
And representation was a huge point as well. So, we have a question. Say, Brittany, a question that many of us may resonate with. Lots of people appreciate tech and enjoy coding. However, people are outgoing personalities may not fit. This would cause us to leave. Do you see that being applicable in your life, or have you seen that happen to somebody that who's in the coding space?
Yeah, I definitely resonate with the part of having that personality and not being a fit. So in my previous roles, internships as well. I've had internships in college. So I'm not just relating my experiences to Oracle, but I definitely found myself trying to conform into the company's culture rather than myself fitting into their culture, right? And I think in those cases, I was so ready to leave because it didn't align, right? It didn't fit for me. And I definitely resonate with that comment in sense of, oh, okay, yes, being shy, gaming, like Phil was talking about. I do resonate with all of that of being othered. Obviously, look at my appearance. I'm a Black woman with big hair. Like I talk too much sometimes. Like I know what that feels like, and I hate feeling othered. So my best advice, it's gonna sound bad, leave. Go somewhere where you feel comfortable because they exist. You don't have to stay in a space where you feel like that. And I know that it's hard, it's few and far between. We're talking about careers here, we're talking about um, paying the bills, right? Like, but I feel like we're at a place in our society or generationally, I'm 25, how we're not sitting down to just anything. We're not doing things just for a check anymore. We're doing things to fulfill us and make us feel whole and not feel like the world is shattering as soon as we open that laptop. So that is my best advice, honestly. Do not stay somewhere where you feel like the culture there and you don't fit, because it will never fit.
No, that is definitely key. I think I've said that over and over again. If you don't feel comfortable, you're not able to give your best. So
Yeah.
you're not going to want to give your best. So it's down on both sides. And thank you, Mia, for sharing your input as far as being uncomfortable. Yes, you're ready to press forward, and that's great. And we have a couple more comments here, and we're going to let y'all go. A couple of thank yous. Thank you for you guys for volunteering your time. It wasn't part of this organization. Shout out to AUTMHQ. I would never have known that there's another option within the tech field. So definitely thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for all of your input. Thank you, Phil and Brittany. I'm actually going to bring back our screen here because we have ways for everyone to join. There we go. AUTMHQ, if this is new to you. Definitely feel free to join us on our website, automhq.org. You can send us an email at contact at automhq.org. Check out our newsletter, which is also on our website. If you navigate to automhq.org/news. We're on all the social medias. We're on TikTok as well, AutomHQ. Everything is AutomHQ, AUTMHQ, Austin Urban Technology Movement, if you feel like typing all that out. But thank you so much for joining. Thank you to our guests, Phil and Brittany. We all the comments are so helpful and provide a lot of support. And I'm glad you guys are encouraging each other in the comments as well. But we're going to head on out here. And we look forward to seeing you on the other side, inside of our website, joining for training, joining our events in the future. And have a great week.
Thanks for having me, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.